Hello, Greg Rosenthal.
Good to see you.
Welcome to your show. Welcome to the show that we should have been doing all along.
Oh, stop it. Okay, so we're calling it Courts of Thunder, but the subtext here is now Glenn is tired of me already, and I'm going to try to get him back on board and make sure we can continue doing this.
We're good. We really wish there would have been some more time between the French Open and Wimbledon to try to work through some of the things that we're trying to do with the show. There wasn't. It's what it is. So it's still going to be a bit of a feeling out process as we go through this. We are trying to perfect some things. We did change the name of the show. As Greg, I'm going to make this very clear. This is not you leaving your other show to do Courts of Thunder, as had been predicted over the years.
No, yeah. Mark Sessler a long time ago thought I would one day leave the NFL to do my women's tennis blog and podcast, Courts of Thunder. And I think this is the first step to that. And the NFL, they're making some cuts this week for real. A lot of good people lost their jobs. So I'm preparing.
I'm very sorry to hear that.
I'm preparing for the future.
Well,
and there's a lot to talk about. A lot has happened even in the 2 weeks since the French Open.
Yeah.
And I'm excited. It's like when they released the schedule for the NFL. That's the first time I get the juice flowing a little bit. Like, okay, now I see the week one matchups. I'm back in a little bit. And when they I wasn't quite ready for Wimbledon, but when the draw came out Friday morning, now I'm ready.
Oh, it gets me juiced. I completely agree. All right, let's start with the unfortunately for the second straight slam. This is how we start our preview show. It's about who's not there. And that's a bummer. And I wish that weren't the case, but it's significant. And for a lot of different reasons, it's significant. I don't think we need to have another Naomi Osaka conversation. It hasn't changed. I think we all knew that looking at the schedule, it made sense that she would look towards the Olympics, and it made sense that she would look towards the U.S. Open for trying to get herself to that place where she'd be ready to play again. I hope that ends up being the case, and it appears as though that's going to be the case. The other part that, again, is awkward in having this conversation, because I don't want it to diminish any of the real things, is that Naomi Osaka has never been particularly good on grass either. So I think it's more likely, Greg, that she becomes good on grass at some point than it is that she becomes good on clay. Like, I think her game is more conditioned to growing as a grass player than as a clay player necessarily. But if we're being honest about it, she's never played the second week at Wimbledon. She's never made a grass court final. There wasn't really a reason to think that this was going to be a breakthrough time for her coming at Wimbledon.
That's fair, but I totally expect her to play well again on grass and win a Wimbledon eventually. There's no reason why she wouldn't. So, losing her and Halep are massive losses for the women's draw, but there's still so many fun people in it. But I really feel bad for Halep. Even more that she can't defend what,
right?
To me, gonna be tough to ever top her 2019 Wimbledon title. That was as good as I've ever seen just about any woman beat down Serena ever. And she's had a really tough year, Halep. So her and Osaka out are huge. I fully expect Osaka to be at the Olympics.
Yep.
She has so many sponsors who have built campaigns around that, and so we'll get them back, but losing them on the women's side, and then Nadal and Thiem on the men's side. Thiem is a bit of a mess since he won his Grand Slam. He's not healthy, he's not playing well, and Nadal, to me, of those four is the biggest surprise, because I know he worked hard in the French, but he's out of Wimbledon, he's out of the U.S. Open, and he's really managing his schedule. And that's too bad, because to me, he would be my number 2 favorite in this tournament.
I agree with that. With that. And I think that, to me, is the biggest statement about where Djokovic is in comparison to everyone else. That if you're Rafael Nadal and you're just bowing out of Wimbledon, where there's no doubt in my mind, you're the second best player in the field, or in the draw. It says a lot about what everybody else thinks of where Novak Djokovic is, that you sort of say, well, let me think about New York instead. Like, and I get it. Rafael Nadal's always played well at New York, and taking some time off will help him. And
his body, though, I do wonder. I mean, he claimed an injury, and the Olympics is going to be a lot, to go all the way over there too. And I don't doubt it. I think he's the type of athlete that does not reveal what's really going on. But you saw it in these final 2 matches, I would say. at French Open, that he was maybe not what we expect. And yeah, that
Sure.
just makes Djokovic a crazy favorite. But it's a shame. Halep especially. I mean, Osaka, that stinks, but I really feel for Halep, who, here's a stat for you. She will fall out of the top 10 potentially at the end of this tournament for the first time since 2014. So while all these people are picking and choosing
Right,
where
coming
they
and going,
play,
yeah.
she is like the Frank Gore
She's
of tennis.
just been steady. That's a great comparison.
That is, she's a Hall of Famer.
Yep.
She's a huge value add, and she has not left the top 10. That is a level of consistency no one can come close to.
In an era where there have been so many players that have come on. That's a great point, Greg. Yeah, it's a bummer. You know, and you bring up the team thing. I don't know what to make of it. I have no idea how long it's going to take for him to get back to a place where he can play at this level again. We'll see. I mean, at that level, competing to win slams, but I don't think that he was going to be much of a threat to win or to go very far in this tournament the way that he's been playing. So
no, and Osaka gone and Halep gone. It does. Maybe are we going to do women's draw? I say we do.
We can do women's draw first. You want to do women's draw first?
Because it's for the two of us. Who am I watching closer than anyone in this?
100%. All right, here we go. Let me see how this. These are the new sounders. Let's see how alarming this is.
Yes,
I think it'll work. All right, so let's start with the women's draw, Greg. Here's what we're going to do. Let's go quadrant by quadrant on the draws, and let's pick a semifinalist as we go through each quadrant. All right? So we start on the top half of the women's draw, which, of course, is the one that I didn't have open in front of me. That's normally the way that this works. I, of course, had the men's draw open in front of me. So let's start the top quadrant. Give me your thoughts starting from that quadrant. Who's coming through?
Well, Barty's in that group, and that's a fascinating first round. She's got Suarez, Navarro, and really like that entire section seems like the toughest in the entire draw. Do you agree?
I don't disagree with that whatsoever. I think Jo Konta, with that crowd, and we now know it's going to be 50% for every match until the finals. Like, I think she's a threat. I don't want to oversell that. I think she's a threat. Kiki Burton's someone who always plays well. Like, I think that is a loaded portion of the draw.
You've got Ostapenko, who might win the tournament. That's going to happen a day after we tape this. She's in the finals. You've got my girl Kasakina, who just made a deep run. And you've got Andreescu in there. You've got Cornet.
You haven't mentioned the French Open champion yet.
Right.
Yeah.
It's loaded. And, I think Barty has to come in here feeling pretty good, though, that coming into this tournament healthy, and like Osaka out and Halep out. I think like draw winners, maybe just Barty and Serena, just because they're not there.
I don't disagree with that. I think Barty's coming through there, but I'm with you. That is absolutely a minefield that she is walking through to get there. But I do think that Barty coming in rested and just, I think being the best player in the draw, I'm just going to choose to trust her. So I'm with you with Barty going through that. All right. Second group is where we find obviously the most important player in the Wimbledon draw. The second quadrant is where we find the 30 seed Palabadosa, who we all know is the most important player. We're gonna deal with this for some time. Look, Serena's in the second quadrant, and I think she's got to be fairly happy with what she's dealing with until you get to Coco Gauff, right?
No, see, this is what I looked at this initially, and I'm with you, and then I go look at what Angelique Kerber is doing right this week in Germany. She hasn't won a tournament, Glenn, since 2018 Wimbledon. Since she became a 3-time Grand Slam champ. She hasn't been a final in over 2 years. This week, she has mowed through some of the best grass court players in the world, including Kvitova and Kerber played 6 sets on Friday as we're taping this, and beat Kvitova on grass. And so suddenly she's probably feeling about as good as she's felt in a while. And that is such a great circleable match. I really hope Kerber and Serena play each other in the 3rd round. And that's the type of stuff as like a tennis fan that I love. 2 great champions at the end of their career, at the site of their most memorable matchups. And the site where Kerber took her down in one of the most shocking matchups ever. And yeah, you're right. If Serena can get through that, and she has a very easy first 2 rounds, Serena, then she's possibly playing Coco Gauff in the 4th round, which would be fun.
Oh,
that would be amazing.
It would be phenomenal. All right, so who do you have coming out of the quadrant?
Oh, I'm not betting against Serena. I mean, the thing I want to happen is Serena to finally get 24 here. And I don't think it's an easy draw. Bencic plays Coco, by the way, earlier than that, potentially. Svitolina's in there too, but she hasn't been playing great. I'm not in any given match. I'm never picking against Serena at Wimbledon, but we just have so little data. You know, she didn't play leading up to it. So we're just hoping she's in good form.
And she looked, for a few rounds in Paris, she looked good.
Solid.
She looked all right. I wish I could join you there. I don't feel good about it.
What?
I don't feel good about it. I do, however, feel good about Coco. I genuinely feel good about Coco. I think I told you at the end of the French Open, I think her run was far more important than the way that she lost.
Oh, absolutely.
That she continues to rise. And this is where Wimbledon was where Coco Gauff became Coco Gauff. Like this is her spot. She is ready for this. I believe Coco Gauff is a semifinalist. And I believe Coco Gauff comes through that quadrant. It's 100%.
That would that middle Monday where, Manic Monday, they call it, which is round of 16, is when that Serena Gauff matchup would possibly happen. But I'm not counting, Coco's just a wee lass, 17 years old. I'm not penciling in there. I'm not penciling Serena. Just the way that Kerber, bad Kerber is terrible. She's been totally off the map, but we've seen what peak Kerber can do. And if she's got a little confidence going into her favorite thing, that whole group is tricky. And yet I still feel good about Serena.
All right. 3rd quadrant. This is the one to me that, like, poor Sloane Stephens having to face Petra Kvitova in the 1st round. Oh my God.
Poor Kvitova though, having to play.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair too, right? It's fair both ways.
I'm a huge Kvitova fan, and that I saw, and I love Sloane too. They're 2 of my very favorites, and I thought that is tough.
Oh my God, that's unbelievable. That would be a 1st round match. I am leaning towards this being a place for Sofia Kenin to put together a nice run. And I know that I'm putting a second American through to the semifinals, but I am leaning towards this being a spot for Sofia Kenin to right the ship a bit. It's not like she wouldn't have to face anyone, but boy, she's got to feel really good about at least the first 3 rounds of that draw as being nothing in there that should be much of a threat. She's got, likely to be an American in the 2nd round, someone that she knows well between Brengel and McHale. Like, I just feel like that quadrant sets up well for Sofia Kenin to play well for a few rounds and roll that through to a trip to the semifinal.
Yeah, I think this draw is not even. I think the bottom half, which we're talking about now, is much easier. I think this quarter's the worst. And, I think if you're not, a seed or top seed, you are like, I want to be in Kenin's quarter, or I want to be in Pliskova's quarter. Pliskova hasn't lost a match in weeks. I think she's 0-3 on the grass, and she's the top seed. On this side with Kenin. And so this is where I think someone crazy could come out of, like, if Sloane can get out of that 1st round, watch out.
But it's a big if, right?
That's a huge if. Kvitova as a fan, in me thinking Wimbledon is going to be her best chance to win another slam.
Sure.
I think what she went through with the home intruder is some superhero stuff that somehow hasn't been made as big a deal internationally as I think it could. And I want her to win a Grand Slam to do that. And to me, this is a perfect draw for her after that first round. And so that's who I have going through, but you have Madison Keys in here somewhere.
Yep.
You have Pegula, who's done some things. You have, who was it? A wild card in this draw who won the tournament 2 weeks ago, a Russian outside the top 100. I forget her name right now. And so like there's a lot of possibilities in this little quarter.
I'm trying to pull up who that was, because I genuinely don't know the answer off the top of my head, but
that's the thing with Wimbledon is like if you're a big hitter, big forehand, big serve, you get on a little run, who knows what can happen.
All right, the bottom portion of the draw, again, also to me, this is a place where I would want to be living. I get it. Swiatek is probably that player, but I have no idea what Iga Swiatek is at Wimbledon, right? I have no clue what she is at Wimbledon, just because it's been so long. It really is remarkable how long since we had a Wimbledon. Iga Swiatek established herself as one of the top players in all of tennis, and I don't have a first guess about what she is when she plays in London.
Well, I'd be a little concerned because she already is kind of making those quotes of just like, I'm really trying to adjust to the grass and change my game. And here's like the pattern that always happens. They do that for a couple of years, and then on the third or fourth year, they're like, you know what? I realized you shouldn't change your game on the grass. You should just play your game. But she's in the early part of that. And like Kasakina had that exact quote, and she made it far in the Viking International this week. And so I'm not really feeling like Swiatek's got Shui in the first round.
Yep.
That's a tough one. I think this is wide open. I don't think Swiatek is much of a favorite at all.
I agree. Sakkari coming off a nice run at the French is in that quadrant.
This is the French Open little group where all the ladies who made it far in the French, right? Pavlyuchenkova is in this group too.
I like Sabalenka, I think, but I made that same mistake. We had this conversation. I picked her to be a finalist in Paris. I think I like Sabalenka of that group to come through, but I am. This could absolutely be another one where we see a wild name come through the bottom portion of the draw.
Yeah, Sabalenka to me is one of the players in both draws that I'm watching the closest, because again, she got a great draw. Mm-hmm. She's coming off a massive disappointment at the French. She is the number 2 seed. That's the highest seed she's ever been at a Grand Slam. It's a lot of pressure, and yet I think if everyone's even, she should win. She should get through. So
I think so too. All right. So do we want to predict who's winning?
We didn't even mention Muguruza is down there.
Sure.
Too. She is obviously a threat, but if I'm going to predict who's going to win, I'm going to
you want to speak it into existence. Is that what you're doing?
I think so. I'm going to have to go Serena over Sabalenka in the finals. Big breakthrough for Sabalenka to make it that far. We get a little Serena Kvitova or potentially on the way. Kvitova's at the bottom there. So let's go Serena over Kvitova in the final.
I like it.
School.
I like it. I hate to go chalk, but I will take Ash Barty over Sabalenka in the final. And that means it's not going to happen. There's just no way that's going to end up being.
No. Ons Jabeur is coming off of her first title ever. She's now into the top 20, I believe, and she has a great grass court game. So her and Kasakina, who I still like even on grass, are the two kind of in the 20s that it would not surprise me if we somehow see them make a semi, and they're a lot of fun to watch. Ons Jabeur, I love.
All right, let's go to the other side of things. Let's go to the men's draw. I hate to call it a one-player draw, but boy, it feels that way sometimes, right? It certainly feels. I guess the good news for Roger Federer is he didn't get stuck on Novak Djokovic's side of the draw, and so
great news.
That's the most compelling story, obviously, going in, is it presents the opportunity for Roger Federer to make a run to the Wimbledon final without having to face Novak Djokovic until he gets there. That's very significant. I don't know how good I feel about his chances of getting there, but if it's going to happen, that it could have happened as early as like the quarterfinals, the way the draw could have come out. Instead, it would not happen until we get to the finals, a potential Federer and Djokovic draw. Do we need to discuss much about the first quadrant of the men's draw, or can we just say we know who's coming out of it?
No, I think you're right. It just reminds me of the year Djokovic came into Wimbledon having won 4 straight, and that's when Sam Querrey beat him. Sam Querrey, who's in a final, by the way, coming up on Saturday. You just never know.
And
but
who made a nice run at the last Wimbledon 2 years ago too, right?
You know, you never know, but you look at not only is Djokovic a massive favorite to get, to the quarters or to the semi, I think he got the easiest quarter, in the entire draw. So maybe he played Cynic or Rublev in the quarter. It's a similar setup to Wimbledon, to the French, where neither of them made it. And I think it is set up pretty well for Sinner or Rublev to make a nice run opposite him.
Diego Schwartzman is certainly a threat to that. I think Schwartzman absolutely. Why? Why do you? Is it
on grass? I
don't know. He hasn't
won many matches this year in general. I do love my short.
I was gonna say short guys, right?
But look at the seeds around Djokovic is like Monfils, Christian Garin, Davidovich, Fokina. It is it's just kind of walking into the quarters, and then a light warm up to the next one. So yeah, let's move on.
So we can move on to the next one. I do not feel as strongly about Tsitsipas being ready to make another run. I think while I still think he's going to be fine long term, I think it's a lot to ask him to go through that, having a 2-set lead and not being able to finish it off and be ready emotionally to go through the totality of 2 weeks. I don't think it's an overwhelming quarter that he's dealing with, but I think he is prime for a letdown in the early portion of the Wimbledon, in the early portion of the fortnight.
Yeah, he starts with
Tiafoe, right? Yeah,
and Francis has played well, on grass. He's won a couple challengers on glass. I think he did well when he was in the juniors. He's been pretty iffy since the start of the pandemic in general, but he has a little bit of momentum. And so if you're an American fan, hopefully they give that a nice little time slot, and that is a popcorn match. And because after that, I feel like Francis pretty open.
Didn't Francis beat somebody recently, or is it just that he beat?
He's been playing well. He has some good wins. Then also in that quarter is a first round match between Seb Korda and Alex de Minaur. And Alex de Minaur is also in a final coming up on Saturday. He's played a lot of tennis, but is playing really well. So that's 2 Americans versus 2 of the better informed players. But if they could get it, if we're talking all the way to the semis, my number one upset pick of this whole thing is I think this sets up really well for Opelka.
Okay.
He's a seed here.
Yeah.
The other seeds down there, Shapovalov is looking at this and thinking I could make a semi.
Yep.
Andy Murray is in there.
The crazy part is that, I don't think I refuse to believe that Andy Murray has a Wimbledon run in him. But to your point, if he wins a match, if he beats it's I'm going to do this forever, Basilashvili in the first round.
Yep.
I don't know. Is there a reason why he couldn't win a couple of matches and make it interesting?
I watched him in London, was it Eastbourne or whatever it is, and he played great. I watched the full match. Granted, it was against Benoit Paire, but he was moving fairly well. He was serving well, and he's definitely got some Jimmy Connors at the U.S. Open in '91 vibes. If he can just get a match or 2 under his belt, the crowd will, coming out of the pandemic, it will just be crazy. Shapovalov would be a potential 3rd round match, but that's that Opelka court, down there too, which would this seems open. If Tsitsipas blows it, it's Tsitsipas or the field, and I kind of like Murray and Opelka to make some noise here.
Wow. All right, so officially you're saying Opelka?
I'm gonna go Opelka to the semis. Yeah.
Man. I'm gonna go Shapovalov. You remember how good? Do I remember correctly that the quarters of the 2019 Wimbledon were really goofy? I know Nadal and Djokovic and Federer all got through, but do I remember correctly that the other 5 quarterfinalists were a bit goofy in 2019?
That sounds right, but I've blocked out everything pre-pandemic. I'm just living in the now.
Okay, I see what
anything that happened in my life, my kids their life basically started at 5 and 8. I have no
I
idea.
understand that.
No idea what's happening.
All right, let's get to the third portion of the third portion of the bracket. This is the Zverev portion of things, coming off his run to the semifinals of the French Open. Of course, as you know, we don't like Sasha Zverev, so we look for every opportunity to root against him. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to come early on, and it's even more troubling if it's like, say, Zverev and Sandgren, and then what the hell do I do as far as rooting in that match is concerned? It does nothing for me. I will say that, as always, I think this is the goofy thing where I think John Isner can just go be a threat because he's John Isner for a little while in this. Ultimately, I like Berrettini coming out of this quadrant.
Okay, yeah, and Berrettini and Isner would play in round 3. This is probably the least sexy quadrant in there. Nick Kyrgios comes back to tennis.
Mm-hmm.
Has not played since the Australian, has barely played since the pandemic started. He did not play a lead-up tournament, and he plays Ugo Humbert, who just won a tournament, and they played a great match. I think it was in Australia this year. That was where the Kyrgios had a classic match this year, and so that is a great first-round match, but I don't put much faith in him winning a 3 out of 5 set against the guy in form. So he really needed to kind of warm up to this tournament, and he's not going to get a chance to do it. My guy Nishikori is in here too with a pretty favorable draw. If he's made multiple Wimbledon quarters, he's actually had some good results here, including the last time they played. And there's not much in his way before he would play Berrettini. But I'm going all the way down again, kind of rooting against Zverev and trying to wish this into existence to a guy who has played his best on grass for some reason, and that's Felix Auger-Aliassime. Okay. And I think maybe this is time. I think we've been waiting for it at
no doubt
event. He's playing great on grass. So just based on the small sample size of the last 2 weeks on grass, he looks to be in form. I'm hoping Kay can make it through. I wouldn't be a surprise at all to see Berrettini Kay in round 16, but I'm going to take Felix all the way to the semis.
Wow, all the way to the semis. That would be a major moment, obviously, for him. And you're right, somebody that we've been waiting on, someone who's very exciting.
He's a 16 seed, though. It's not like, Fritz is in here as a 31 seed. He's coming off knee surgery 2 or 3 weeks ago, so he's probably not going to win anything. I'm surprised he's playing. Karatsev, who's kind of the Johnny come lately, is in there too. But this group is wide open, and I'm just hoping Zverev finds a way to blow it. But he's been pretty steady at the slams until the business time lately. And
to be fair, it's not just that Roger Federer avoided Novak Djokovic on the side of the draw. His quadrant is also quite favorable as well. It's look, Menarino in the first round is no guarantee. I think that's going to be competitive, but Federer is in a good place where there's not going to be a big dog waiting for him, say, in the 3rd or 4th round.
No, he got a great draw. He potentially gets Medvedev in the quarters if they both can get there.
Medvedev's never played particularly well on the grass.
No, he hasn't, but he is in a final this week. And it's an interesting strategy. He's played a lot of sets this week. He just won a third set match on Friday, going to have to play a final on Saturday and turn right around. That is a lot. And then he has a first round match against Struff, who just beat him, I think, in Berlin a week or two ago, and has played very well and went to the French. So that is a brutal first round draw for Medvedev. Cilic is around there. He's done some things at Wimbledon. But yeah, if you're a Fed fan, you're loving this draw, because Fed was not given a lot to feel confident about in Halle. He lost to Felix there in 3 sets, started out that match okay, faded hard. If you're losing second round, and granted it was to Felix, who ended up playing very well that tournament and is a good player, but if you're losing second round in Halle and you're Roger Federer, something's not right. But here's why I feel good. When he plays these guys like Manarino, who have been around for the entire Fed era, I'd much rather play these guys who I think are mentally defeated a little bit.
Yeah, they've been beat down so much.
He knows how to play. Yeah. The next match after that could be Gasquet. It's just going to be like a tournament of patsies, and then after that, who knows? It's like Cam Norrie or Puig. That might be the easiest.
He just beat Norrie, right?
And then in the little group below them, I actually think Querrey, who now seems to be
what a great first round match that is, by the way.
Yeah, Querrey and
Carreño Busta. Yeah.
Query would be my number 2 favorite, out of that entire group to make the quarters. I would put Fed first and Query second, just because there's no other grass court players, and he seems to be in form there. There's a lot more better players at the bottom. I really am hoping for Medvedev Fed.
It would be phenomenal.
What I need.
Yeah,
I haven't seen that.
Yeah,
at a big spot quarters.
Yeah.
That just would be beautiful, no matter what. Well, I really would want Federer to win, but
of course, Tommy Paul's down there too.
Okay.
Not that I'm expecting big things from Tommy Paul, and he disappointed us even on surface that we thought he was playing better on the clay.
And he's got a fun first round match against Alcaraz. So if you're into the future of tennis, Alcaraz, the wild card from Spain, is a lot of fun to watch too.
So are you putting Fed through?
No, I'm not. I'm gonna go Medvedev.
I am too. I am also gonna go Medvedev. So I know it's not fun, but I want to. I so badly want to. And you know what's going to be, if we get there, I almost would guarantee that I would bet on a straight money line bet. I would bet Federer against Medvedev. That's the funny part. Like if we got to that point,
I think Fed's going to get there. I really do. Once I saw this draw, I was like, he's going to warm into this tournament, maybe Query in the 4th round or something, but I feel pretty good. Manarino in the first might be his toughest match for the first three rounds.
It might be. I can't. It's hard for me to be confident at this point in Roger Federer playing well anyway, for that long.
You know what he needs? He needs Medvedev to play another long match in his final on Saturday and then get taken out first round by Struff, which is
it's not impossible. It's not impossible.
Medvedev was looking for matches on grass, and now he's getting too many of them in the week before because he's playing well. That would be
all right. Give me your final.
Well, with this group, I guess I either got to put Felix in the final or I'll go Medvedev, Djokovic, and let's get Medvedev to win this tournament.
Whoa! Go put some money on that right now.
So stupid. Here's if you were putting money, by the way, Djokovic is 5-6 to win, so that's a higher than 50% chance. Federer is 9-1. I think Medvedev is 6-1, something like that. They've given him a little more love than Federer. But basically everyone is far, far behind Djokovic. I would take the field because it's just that hard to win a Grand Slam. And Djokovic has already won 2 in a row. The talk of winning the calendar Grand Slam is going to really start picking up during this tournament.
I hear you, but I think it's where it benefits that it's such a quick turnaround, right, between one and the other. There wasn't a lot of time for that conversation. I think that's the type of thing that'll make me interested going to New York. I don't think it becomes an issue here. I'm going Djokovic, Berrettini. Berrettini, of course, he just won last week. Look great. I like Berrettini a lot, but I'm not stupid. Novak Djokovic is winning Wimbledon. I don't know why we're doing this. The man is.
Well, then what's the fun? It's one of the reasons.
It's not fun, but that's the nature of Novak Djokovic. Like, it's not fun right now. You just understand that at the end you got to take your medicine, man. That's the way it's going to go. The man's going to win the tournament. There's nothing we can do about it.
What an incredible player he is at Wimbledon. How many times he's won it. The one thing that hurts him at Wimbledon more than any other tournament is if he plays a big hitter, you can just hit through the court on the grass in a way that you can't just get the ball past Djokovic, even on hard. You just can't get it past him. And it's why, Federer's had some good matches, but he's played some other big hitters, certainly Query. Doesn't happen too much, but if he just plays who am I kidding? It's
also why like servers can do well at Wimbledon. It's why I bring up John Isner's name. You can be a server at Wimbledon,
and yet he never does it. That's why I like Opelka. He's a server with a little bit more of a game.
Yep.
But I do think you need to be able to back it up too.
I agree. All right. So with that in mind, let's ask an interesting question.
Bring the thunder. I think every time you say that, if anyone's listening, just let me know if you want me to say bring the thunder.
I want you to. If nobody else does, I want you to do that every time. I want you to finish this sentence. This fortnight will be a success for you, obviously. Like, I would settle for let's just get through it and make sure there's no outbreak, something like that. This fortnight will be a success for you if what?
Glenn still likes me at the end of it.
Oh, that ended a long time ago.
I think now we're becoming partners here, and he's starting to see the real me, and it's not always pretty. I am taping this though from my parents'
on vacation
house right now.
Yeah.
I was at a water park this morning, and then got here to make this time. I'm just like, we got here. I'm like, I'll see you later, guys. We got a podcast. So you finish. I've got a couple of them, by the way. So you're gonna have to think of a few, but I've got a couple of them.
The big one, the obvious one is, and I am with you on this, even though I picked against it. It's a success. I am starting to get nervous about Serena's chances. I'm starting to get nervous about it, and I don't think it's hyperbole at all to say this is her last best chance to do this, right?
I think it's hyperbole.
I think it's why is it not hyperbole? You think she's got a better chance in New York?
Well, the word last. I'm
saying last best chance. I'm making it
until proven otherwise. I am gonna believe that she is a contender at Wimbledon and the U.S. Open until she shows me. She has not shown me any reason to believe otherwise. Now, is she the heavy favorite like before? No. Look at the odds right now. But she actually is tied for being one of the favorites. But she's got about the same amount of chance as Medvedev. So it's really a field thing.
This to me is more about the Osaka factor. I think when on the hard courts, it's going to be difficult for me to believe that she has a great chance of winning a tournament that Naomi Osaka, as long as Naomi Osaka comes back and is Naomi Osaka again, and I have no reason to think that won't be the case, I'm not going to feel great about her chance of winning a hard court tournament that Naomi Osaka is also in. So that brings me to Wimbledon. It's not going to be the French. We know that. That brings me to Wimbledon. And I'm not, again, trying to avoid hyperbole in this conversation. We're talking about someone who's going to be 40.
Yeah.
This is the reality. The reality to me is it's not impossible. I'm by no means saying it's this or never. But as far as really good chance, I don't know that I'm going to believe that much.
Well, you're a jerk. She's the greatest ever for all, for a reason.
I worship at the altar of Serena Williams.
No, even more than me. And I'm with you. That was one of the things I wrote down is that Serena makes a run. And by, for Serena standards, that means a final, really.
Correct.
That means a final. And I do think when they announced the whole schedule of this year, and she looked at how it was going to work out post kind of the Miami swing and everything, she thought my year is about Wimbledon, and just in the same way that it was for Venus for a while when she was still competitive, but not, great elsewhere. I think everything Serena has been doing for the last 4 months is about this tournament.
Yep.
And if you look at every single matchup that she has, I'll take my chances with her in each one of those individual matchups. It's hard to survive, 6 or 7 in a row. Like if she plays an inform Muguruza or Sabalenka, like that's gonna be tough, but I like her chances, and that's what I want to see. I want to be watching that semis and finals on what will be July 4th. She's playing. That's the first. Yeah, that's a third. That's the third round. So it'll be the week after that, and
that's right.
And watch her in the final, and that'd be success. I'm going to complete the sentence again.
Yeah.
All right, Wimbledon will be a success for me.
Well, I've got one more too.
I've got a few. If Venus wins a match. Beat Buzenescu in the first round.
Sure. All right. Well, that's look. Trust me, I am not
small victories. Why not?
I'm with you, and I'm not.
This might be it. This might be your last best chance to win a match at this point. That's how I'm feeling.
I understand that.
They're gonna put her on center court. They better, by the way. I've seen what you do sometimes with the schedule in Wimbledon. Definitely the least.
It was the greatest thing that ever happened to me when they sent Serena out to court 2 the year that I was out there. It's the only
least women friendly and Williams friendly tournament out there. But they better put her on center court, and they better give her a big ovation when she wins what could be her last match.
This will be a success to me, and this will speak to I am not jingoistic in any way, but admittedly, I'm rooting for Americans. Like I am. I root for Americans not named Tennis Sangren. I've made that very clear. I will always root for Americans. And the disappointment that I felt with Seb Korda at the French Open is still real. And in wanting to believe that he's someone who can elevate himself into being a threat, I don't want to keep waiting for that. Like every time we have this
He
conversation,
had just won a tournament like the day before. So
I
and it was a quick
understand that.
turnaround. Yeah.
But to me, I'm not saying he has to go win Wimbledon. Like I'm not suggesting that. I just need to see Seb Korda do something relevant at a slam, win a big match, do something that will continue to further my belief that he is becoming a threat and a player that can compete amongst the top players. So I'm not saying something ridiculous, but Seb Korda is someone that I want to believe in, that can be compelling for some time when we get to slams. And so I just want to see him do something that will fortify my belief in that.
Well, he got a brutal draw. Getting de Minaur in the first round, he's going to be a heavy underdog. He's got to hope that de Minaur is tired coming off either a championship or a final.
All I'm asking for is a match. That's it. I'm just asking for one good win.
But no, you know what? If he got through that match, the way that draw looks, then I think he could go to 4 or 5. I did get to watch him. He played K in the third round in Halle.
Yeah.
Beat Nishikori 7-5 in the third. First of all, it's hard to beat Nishikori in a third match. I mean, a third set. He's great. Has the the best active winning percentage, better than Djokovic and Federer. Remarkable. Deciding set, and Korda really played lights out there, and he is a lot of fun to watch. A guy that hasn't been as fun to watch to me over the years, though, was Andy Murray, but I turned the corner eventually, and man, what a great ambassador for the sport. So I think Wimbledon will be a success if he makes the 4th round. Each match, it's the excitement, the crowd, everything's gonna build. That to me would be a smaller story that would really add some juice to this tournament. So I'm really rooting for him now. I am on Team Murray.
Here's one other goofy one, Greg. Wimbledon will be a success if we don't have to deal with a goofy match that started and ends after 11 o'clock and they suspend it.
Situation. Oh, that's happening.
I swear there is nothing. This problem is coming and we just don't do anything about it. There will never be anything this is going to be a thing, and you just shrug your shoulders and you say, well, sorry, nothing we can do. It's obnoxious. It's
especially for the men who have to then play back-to-back days, 3 out of 5 sets. You don't feel quite as bad just because the women are used to playing back-to-back days, and it's 2 out of 3. But man, it's so unfair to some of those guys who get stuck in that. A lot of times in Wimbledon, when you're looking at the quarters in the round of 16, it's like, who has gas left of the men? There are guys that are almost done by the time their match starts. So hopefully we don't get a lot of
it is infuriating. We're sitting here having this conversation, and I know we're going to end up talking about it. I know it's going to end up being a conversation point, and yet everybody's just nothing we can do. Nothing. We all know it's coming. Nobody does anything about it. It's infuriating.
I'm fired up though. There's a lot of fun first round matches. I'm looking forward. Ostapenko's playing well. Vika's playing well. There's a lot going on here.
I agree. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, pal. That's that. That's the preview episode of Courts of Thunder for Wimbledon. I am looking forward. The plan is, I guess we should have finalized this off the air, but we are going to try to do regular shows throughout the course.
Multiple shows every week. So we'll get it out to you. I like hearing from